Brent has no time, no money, no hope, and no confidence, and we're gonna get him a wholesale deal in the next 6 months. I wanna try the $0 approach.
Whatever the price is, who gives a shit, make him an offer.
I reached out to the county.
They don't tell you about that in all these YouTube training videos.
Yeah, exactly.
So look, as you guys know, I've talked a lot about the gurus, how they show a lot of success, and you know my channel focuses on what the reality is. Because all the gurus out there, they'll show you case studies, but they're cherry picking the 1% of students who succeeded, and then after they succeed, then they'll bring them on the podcast. But none of them take somebody who's starting out from the very beginning, it's unknown if they're gonna succeed or not, and they work with them from scratch to make them successful. And I want to inspire people, but I want them to be prepared and to understand what it actually takes to get deals closed and to be successful. And a lot of it starts right up here. I'm gonna prove to you that's the case. It's gonna take a year to get a deal.
Man, I need to get this process dialed in a little faster so that I can make more calls.
And you've not made an offer on the property yet.
No. She filled out my site. I called her multiple times.
And to me, that is personal growth.
I don't know that I want to keep doing this. I feel like I'm going to be wasting your time and I'm going to be wasting my time. My soul, my spirit doesn't feel like it can handle that.
I'm nervous that he's actually gonna quit. So Brent has been trying to wholesale for over a year now. He spent thousands of dollars and he's had zero success. No deals. He's lost all his money. So how much money have you spent so far trying to get a deal?
It's probably been around $7,000.
And you're not even in like a super expensive market like California or Miami.
Yeah, small town Oregon. Yeah.
So one of the main issues with Brent's strategy is that he's in a small town in Roseburg, Oregon. The town has less than 50,000 people in it, and it's very hard to get deals in a small area. Now he's tried using Google Ads. As you guys know, I run a Google Ads company. I run Google Ads for real estate investors all over the country. I generate hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deals for investors every single year, and I understand how it works. The problem, Brent has tried doing it, and his complaint was, I can't get any leads in my market.
My budget has been somewhere around $500 a month.
And you've been doing it over a year, so that's about $7,000. It's not a budget problem, it's not a strategy problem, it's that his market's just too small. When you're doing Google Ads, such a niche target audience that we're going after, in a small 25,000 person town, you'd be lucky to get one deal a year and probably get only a couple leads a month, if that, because it's such a small percentage of the population that wants to sell their home to someone like a real estate investor. And what have you tried so far? You said you were doing pay-per-click a little bit, some SEO. What else have you tried?
I paid a cold calling company to do cold calling for a while. It's brought in more leads than anything else by volume, but everybody that we contacted from those, we'd call them back and there was zero interest. And then we moved over to some mix of SEO and pay-per-click.
I think Brent just expected that he would get deal very quickly. And his expectations didn't match up. He just didn't understand how Google Ads works, and his expectations didn't match up to what his strategy was. And I see that happen all the time. So I'm gonna bring in my buddy Greg, who's a millionaire real estate investor, who knows exactly what to do to make millions of dollars every single year. So Brent knows exactly what to do to generate multiple deals every single month. And our goal, me and Greg are gonna work together to help Brent close one deal. We're gonna give ourselves 6 months to do it. We're gonna figure out everything that he's done, what he's done wrong, and what he needs to do differently in order to be successful. So welcome to this video where we help Brent, who doesn't have any success, and he doesn't really believe that he can do it. I'm excited.
Sweet.
Let's see if we can make this happen for you, man.
Love it. I'm excited.
Any updates from when we spoke last in Arizona?
No updates. Everything has been the same because limited budget. I'm just paying for backlinks each month for SEO, but no progress.
So me and him had to discuss, are we going to expand the location, so not just do his small town in Roseburg, but do maybe statewide Oregon, or at least, a bigger region in Oregon, a bigger city? Or are we going to scrap PPC altogether and try a different marketing channel? Can we pull up the back end of your site?
Cool.
Okay, so I got your Carrot site pulled up here.
I mean, as we're looking at these though, like junk, I'm surprised these aren't going straight to spam.
Here's what I like to do. We don't have a ton of money, live in a small market. I want to try the $0 approach. Let's get you connected with as many people as possible in your market. The strategy basically is Brent doesn't have a very large marketing budget. He's gone through most of his money. He has a couple $100s a month only. And we can't even spend that with Google Ads. It's not going to be worth it because our goal is to get a deal within 6 months. And with Google Ads, it could probably take a year or two. We don't want to do that. So we're going to try a zero cost approach first. And we're going to try to build a huge buyers list. Some people call this reverse wholesaling, where you build a huge buyers list and then you have the biggest buyers list in your area. And then you just reach out to other wholesalers and say, hey, look, you have any deals you can't move? Let's blast them out to my huge buyers list. And then we'll joint venture and split some of the profits. The first priority one is to build a big buyers list. And then we want to go after the wholesalers and say, hey, we have a big buyers list. Do you have any deals? I'm not saying this is going to be super easy and straightforward. The market is challenging. Wholesalers struggle to get deals as it is. I still think it can work. So we're making a list of all the places that I know of that we can find buyers in this market. So we have Investor Lift, Google, Scraping, Craigslist, Facebook groups, Reddit, Discord groups. Feel free to add to this list. We buy houses signs, which is difficult because you live in Roseburg, so you're in a tiny town.
Almost never see bandit signs around me.
Yeah.
And I put them up and they got taken down immediately. So
real estate agents, more accurate, investor friendly buyer agents. That's what we want. One of the best ways to build a buyer's list is through buyer's agents. So go on your local MLS, see all of the cash sales of properties that have sold in the last 6 months, and look at who the buyer's agent is. And ideally, you even want to look at who's the buyer agent who's done multiple of those in 6 months. Because that person primarily works with investors and at least knows a lot of investors. And if you know one really good investor buyer agent, they could know 20 or 30 investors just by knowing one agent. The biggest ones will be Facebook groups, Google scraping, and Craigslist. When I say Google scraping, what I mean is basically going on Google, typing in things like sell my house fast or cash for my home in Roseburg or in Oregon, and you just do research and you get a list of all of the wholesaler and flipper websites in your market. You go to page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6. Even ones that aren't going to show up, that there's people doing business. Step 1, compile the list. Step 2, reach out to the list. Step 3, get a deal. Step 4, sell the deal.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm confident it works. I'm confident wholesaling works. But I've tried wholesaling and it was I haven't done a deal yet. So it isn't everything that it sold to be.
What I hear is you'll believe it when you see it, right? You'll believe when you see it. Any other developments from leads that have come in through your website or anything at all?
Nothing.
And then we also have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Gregory Helbeck, who I've had on my podcast a while ago. He's one of the most legit investors I know. He does wholesaling on a way bigger scale than me. So I'm like, hey, Brent, I want you to succeed. And I told Greg about the plan that I had with you. And he's like, maybe there's a better way. So we're basically going to analyze where Brent's at, what Brent is doing, and we're going to give him the best advice we can. And hopefully come out of this with a good game plan for Brent to get his first deals.
Thanks, Tim. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to helping him out. I want to take the time to basically ask you some questions and see where you're at. And then based on how you answer those questions, I'm going to give you a game plan based on where you're at, right? Because a lot of people, they think it's like a one size fits all. And that's not the reality, because people have different time budgets. People have different money budgets. People have different skill sets, strengths, weaknesses. So I want to make sure I really understand exactly where you're at. How many hours on a weekly basis do you have available to do real estate activities?
I would say somewhere around 5.
5 hours a week. Now, the second question, and this might be a little vulnerable. What is a realistic monthly marketing budget you can invest for a minimum of 6 to 8 months into seller marketing?
For a year and a half, I was probably doing 500 to 700 a month, but my budget ran out this past year. So as of now, probably $200.
$200 a month. So what we need to do now is we need to take into account where you're at and how we can get you to your first deal. Because a lot of people, they get started, they want to build this big business and get rich and have Rolls Royces and fly private and go to Singapore and all that stuff. But you got to get your first deal in order to do that, right?
Yep.
That's all that matters. The only thing I want you to be focused on is your first property, right? That's the only thing that matters. That's the objective. That's every time you're spending money and time in your business, it is to get your first deal. That's the main thing. And you got to keep the main thing. So before we get into like actionable plan, actionable tactics, where do you live? Where is your market? I know the answer, but for the people who didn't know.
Yeah.
Started.
Yeah. I'm in Roseburg, Oregon. It's a small town, maybe 25 to 30,000 people.
How many people, what county is Roseburg, Oregon in?
Douglas County. So it's kind
Douglas County, Maryland. Okay.
23,000
Oregon.
people live there. That's 23,000
That's at the population of the city or the county?
of the
City.
city. If we look at, okay, let me Google the Douglas
Population.
County population. It is 111,000.
All right. That's fine.
makes
That's
sense.
that's doable. We can do that. Now, besides Roseburg, what other cities, towns are in that county?
The other like bigger ones would be Sutherland. You got Sutherland, Myrtle Creek. You've got Cottage Grove. Then on the coast, you've got Reedsport, Winston.
So you have, it's not like it's just all forests. Like there's like towns in this county, like Roseburg and all these other.
Correct. But a lot of these cities that I'm telling you about, at least in this county, are maybe like 10,000 population.
Okay.
So they're
Okay.
small.
Yeah. But there's enough people there and there's enough demand there. I'm sure there's buyers. So, all right. So here's where you have an advantage and here's where you have a disadvantage. You have a disadvantage to your marketing budget for sure. And I'm just going to be straight up with you about that, but it's doable.
Yep.
What's working for you is where you live, believe it or not. Your county is not very competitive, which is good, which means it's easier to get deals. Now, the first thing I would tell you is I wouldn't touch Google Ads with a 10-foot pole. SEO is obviously great, but it's not something to get a deal right away. It's going to take time. So let's get into another question I have for you, because you mentioned you spent money on marketing, you got leads, et cetera. How many offers would you have to say, like verbal offers? Hey, seller, I would pay you X for your property. How many of those do you think you made if you had to guess?
3.
That's the main problem here. You've not made enough offers. If you made one new off-market offer a day, which takes 10 to 15 minutes, okay? If you that's 5 a week, excluding the weekends, that's 5 a week. That's 20 a month. I guarantee you, and these are off-market sellers. This is not listed properties or any of that bullshit. This is off-market properties. If you made one offer a day and you had 20 for the month, within 2 months, you'd have at least 1 or 2 contracts that you could wholesale. So this business is a function of making offers, right? The guy's doing $1 million a month, or the guy's doing $1 million a year like me. The only thing that we really do well is we focus on making offers and we keep the main thing the main thing. That's the only thing that drives success in this business. All the systems, marketing, all that crap is designed to make an offer. Get really good at making offers and your success will eventually find you. So that's the first thing you got to focus on. Now let's talk about a plan, giving your time and money budget to get you the leads to make an offer, right? That's the first thing we got to cover. So Google Ads, no way. Search engine, no way. Facebook, no way. That would be a complete doozy. Just because those leads aren't great and the search, it's just the search volume in your market is not that there. So we're going to have to get really good at driving for dollars, but I probably would tell you not to do. I don't think that's really going to make sense given your time budget because it's not going to really produce it. Go ahead.
I should say we also did that. We had Deal Machine and we were doing driving for dollars and then sending postcards to all of those people. So did that on a small scale. Your
time budget is not, you have to do that in high volume and high, like it's not, the reason I asked you that time budget is because like, it'll take you an hour to get 5 or 10 properties. So it's like, that's not worth your time at this point because you don't have the time allotted for it. So now I want to try to build a plan based on you getting into the habit of making offers. All right. So we're going to have to subscribe to some software. The first one is called PropStream. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yep.
$100 a month. I'm actually going to go on to PropStream right now and see what this guy's got cooking in his county. Your county has 81,007 properties that are real property records, right? I'm going to start to filter this out to eliminate some of the junk. And I'm going to go to residential and check that. And now, instead of having all the residential properties in Douglas County, I'm going to just look for single family homes. So we went from 80 to 40. Another thing I want to do is I want to eliminate all of the properties that are listed, any property that's active, which is a waste of your time.
Okay. So just so I understand what we're doing here, we're on PropStream, we're pulling property lists. Is the goal pulling addresses, skip tracing, cold calling. Is that where we're going here, or am I jumping ahead too much?
That's where we're going here, but we're going to go laser targeted cold calling. We're not going to be doing spray and
Okay.
pray marketing. This is going to be niche cold calling. So that's why I wanted to kind of take this data set and take it from 80,000 down to like a couple hundred. So let's go and filter tax delinquency. So right now I'm going to click tax delinquent search. According to PropStream, there's 4,251 tax delinquent single family homes. All right. So now the list is getting a little bit more niche. I'm going to make this list even more niche. If you go look up here and you see occupancy status, so I'm actually just going to click vacant. So here, we're down to 48 properties. The first thing I do is I'd call these people, because if they are vacant and they owe property taxes, you're going to have a lot more productive cold call because you're calling into a problem. You're not calling into a random person. Hey, Stacy, you're looking to sell your house for cash. Why would I sell my house for cash? You called me. But when you find a property that's vacant and they owe taxes and you cold call them, they have a little bit more motivation. These are 48 prospects. I would call all of these people and text them and see if any of these people would consider selling their property. So that's step one, right?
What would you say? What's like when you text them, when you call them, like how do you start that conversation?
Oh, that's a great question. I'd say, hey, my name is Brent. I'm a local real estate investor, and I just wanted to see if you'd consider an offer for your property over on, Massachusetts Avenue. Like literally just straight up. And then from there, okay, cool. Tell me a little bit about the property. And then you begin that process of having a conversation with them. So that's part A, right? So that's going to cost you $100 a month to do that, right? The second thing you can do, you want to basically get your hands on the tax delinquent list directly from the county, not from PropStream, because the county's got the most accurate data because they're the ones who collect the property taxes. I don't think that list would it'd either be free or it'd cost you maybe $200, like one-time fee. And what you would do is you'd get that list. It's probably all jacked up, like in terms of like, it's all confusing to look at, but you'd want to segment your list to have the first name of the owner, last name of the owner, mailing address, mailing city, mailing state, mailing zip, property address, property city, property state, property zip, and then the most important one here, amount of delinquent taxes, right? And then on top of that, this is where you'd have to get another software, but it's worth it. You can get a software called Invelo. There's another one called Batch Leads. There's another one called it's called REI Sift, SIFT. And you would take that tax delinquent list once it's clean, and you'd upload it into one of those softwares. And then once the data is in that software, you can flag all the vacant properties that are already tax delinquent because because that's the list you bought. And then you can literally go in and you can say, oh, wow, this property over here on Smith Street in Roseburg is vacant and it's tax delinquent. And it's probably a better quality prospect because you directly got that data from the county versus PropStream kind of like guessing to see if it's tax delinquent. So you want to be more targeted with who you're pursuing based on your budget and based on your time. I just kind of rambled there for like solid 15 minutes. So I want you to process this and give me some feedback.
I really like this idea. It makes a lot of sense. I wanted to get clarity in in that last part you were saying. You mentioned going to the courthouse, getting those actual delinquent numbers. You mentioned vacant list. You mentioned combining the two. Now, are those two different lists that I'm combining, or is that all from the county records?
So PropStream is like low-hanging fruit. You can filter little things on PropStream, but it's not 100% accurate because I don't know where PropStream's getting their tax delinquent list from because it's a data aggregator. If you bought the list from the county, those are tax delinquent because that's literally the direct data from the source.
When you're doing this, are you also pulling what's it called, like the no call list? Are you
Dude, I wouldn't worry about that crap, dude.
No? Okay.
Dude, you're not calling enough people to really, listen, I'm not giving you legal advice here, but like
right.
That's the last thing I'd be concerned about is the damn do not call list.
Okay.
For
cool.
bulk people who are doing triple down.
Yeah. And like, dude, you're buying property. You're not selling anything. Legally, you're not, once again, not an attorney in Oregon or New York.
Yep.
Or anywhere for that matter. But I wouldn't be concerned about that.
Are there other pieces that not related to marketing you want to go over, or is that the main? I don't know how
The
much time
main
you
thing
have,
is marketing. The main
Yeah.
thing is marketing, but the reality is that if you're brand new and you're going to get a lot of resistance from people because that's just human nature. they're probably going to say, well, you called me. Like, you're going to get a lot of
Mhm.
resistance. You're going to have to understand that you're going to deal with a lot of resistance. But if you get a deal and you make 30 grand, it's going to be worth it, right? And then you could take that
Yep.
money,
That's the business.
reinvest it, right? Nothing good is easy. The way I would talk to the owners is call them, see if they want to sell. If they want to sell, have them tell you a little bit of information about the property. Try your best to see what price they want to sell for. Hey, if I paid cash and closed this thing whenever you wanted, what would be the best price you could do? Like, just try to get a number out of them. Maybe that's, easier said than done. And then at that point, I would just start getting in the habit of making them offers. And then, whatever their price is, who gives a shit, make them an offer. The last thing I want to cover here on this call is analyzing properties to make an offer, because you're new, right? Literally, I would do this. Go on Zillow, go on Redfin, go on Realtor.com. Take the combination of those 3 property sites and literally just come up with the rough average and take 40% of that and make them the offer. That's literally how I would start. And then just get in the habit of making offers. People are probably going to reject most of those offers, but don't get oh, I got to comp this property. I got to do this. I got to do all this. All those other things are irrelevant unless you have leads coming in and you have offers going out.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I mean, that you say it and it makes a lot of sense. It's one of those, like, you listen to it and go, why didn't I think of that? But that it makes a lot of sense. That makes it really actionable, and I really appreciate it.
You have to remove the emotion from making the offer. It's not an emotional thing. It's a logical thing for you. In the beginning, it's like terrifying. You're like, oh my God, what if the seller takes my offer? I got to get it under contract. Oh shit. Remove the emotion from it and just focus on one step at a time. Like, hey, you get a property in contract, you got a due diligence period, right? If you screwed up for some reason, you could tell, hey, I have a due diligence period, Mr. Seller. I need to make sure this thing checks out. Like, you're not like, if you get it under contract, they're not going to force you to close. You know what I mean? Like, don't try to get deals in contract that you can't deliver on. But if you do a bad deal and you get a contract signed that's too high, it's not the end of the world. So let's walk you back into the game plan, because I want to make this bite sizable for people. The first week, I would get your system set up. So I'd spend one day, on Monday, I would call the Douglas County tax collector and say, how do I get my hands on the list of all delinquent properties in the county? They're probably going to say, oh, it's not available. Well, we don't have that. They might say that, but just keep calling, keep persisting. They definitely have that. If they won't give you the list, then you got to go to PropStream. But I would try to be a persistent badger to get that list. That's step number 1. That's Monday. Tuesday, I'd sign up for Envelo for free. Wednesday, hopefully you have the list by that point. Maybe it costs a couple $100. And you get your list cleaned up. So you take the list they give you, it's probably all screwed up, and the data is going to look all funky. Remember, you want to make it first name, last name, mailing address, mailing city, mailing state, mailing zip, property address, property city, property state, property zip, amount of taxes owed, and then you could filter single family or whatever. And I'm just giving you high level theory here. Obviously, it's when you actually go take action, there's going to be some roadblocks. But Wednesday, I'd clean the list up, and then Thursday, I would sign up for Skip Genie. Takes you 10 minutes. Friday, I would take the tax delinquent list if you have it. I'd stick it into Envelo, and I would flag the vacant properties. And then Monday, I would begin the process of the outreach to call the people.
Honestly, I felt ridiculous when you asked me how much time, how much money. I was like, he's not going to be able to come up with anything with such a limited time money.
No, dude, because it's all about being creative and maximizing what you have. The reality is this, and that's why I like Tim a lot and his channel. It's this is a hard business, and this is a business. If it was easy to buy a piece of property at 45 cents on the dollar, every idiot and their brother and their cat would be doing it. It's freaking hard. It's difficult, but that's why we get paid the big bucks, is because we solve big problems and we're willing to put up with the bullshit in order to make the deals happen.
Did you pull the list yet? Or did you submit
No.
it to...
So I didn't pull the list. I was hung up on one of the questions is how far back do you want this data? And I go, oh, I probably want data from a year plus back. But then I went, no, I only want the most accurate, the stuff right now that is defaulted or whatever, right? I don't know how that works.
You call him back and ask him. Does someone should have that answer? Default 6 months. I don't know what to tell you. I think 6 months is, you can always pull the list again. So I just think the reason why I'm laughing here, I start to sense it's becoming obvious to me that as I've met with Brent a few times now, it's just common objections keep coming up. It's just I don't know. It's a mental roadblock or something. Oh, I don't know exactly what to do. I'm not doing it perfectly. So if I'm not 100% confident I'm doing it perfectly, I'm not going to do it at all. Progress, not perfection. when I was in this stage before I had a deal done and I was somewhat, let's say, in the analysis paralysis stage, I was like trying a bunch of different things. I was literally doing exactly what Brent was doing. And I made a decision one day and I just said, you know what, fuck it. Like, progress, not perfection. Like, I'm not going to do anything perfectly. There's no perfect marketing channel. I just need to keep going. I need to keep trying, trust the process, and keep pushing. No more excuses. Oh, I don't have the perfect list or blah, blah, blah. No, there is no perfect list. There's no perfect anything. We just need to keep pushing. And I'm trying through this whole process to instill that in Brent's mind. What the real difference is between beginners who become full-time or start closing deals and the ones who don't. And I do think a lot of it is around mindset. And I know that's such like a stupid cliche thing to say. And like, what does that word even mean? But I think in your case, potentially could be a limiting belief that you need a crazy amount of time to get a deal, and I think we'll see if it's proven correctly, but I don't think that you need that much time. Greg laid out a plan of which you were honest with the time you have. He didn't call you stupid. He didn't call you a fraud. He didn't say you should give up and quit. You're doomed. And I do feel some of that kind of like, like this probably isn't going to work because I don't have 50 hours a week. And I just like, I don't know where that's coming from. I don't think that's necessarily true. And I want to prove that wrong. We'll see if it is the case. But I think it's part of the joy of going down this journey a little bit. I know you've bought in real estate before, but just like business in general, like one reason why I like staying in business is because it is a good self-reflection tool. It helps us to reflect on ourselves and a good way to grow in a way. And I don't mean that in a condescending way.
2.5, 3 weeks ago, I reached out to the county. They directed me to fill out a form online. So I filled out the form online. They said up to 2 weeks for the list. We're coming up on 2 weeks here in just a day or two, and still haven't gotten the list. I'm definitely nervous, pretty nerve-wracking when I'm just like, oh my goodness, I need to cold call. I've never cold called. What the heck do I do? In the meantime, I did get a lead from my Carrot site, and it turned out to be nothing. He was just wanting to see his options, what a cash offer would look like versus a full price offer. And so didn't get that, but it was one of those, I didn't think I would get it. Like he had called me. He said he saw my site and he gave me a call. And when he left a message, it didn't sound like it. He had mentioned like looking at options, including listing. And so I didn't have a whole lot of hope for it, but in my mind, just any calls I can get at this point, just taking reps, right? Like just getting used to talking to people. I know that's, again, going to be different than cold calling people. I got the list records from the county yesterday. Finally, like 22,000 people. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's like 22,000 columns. And you can see every column kind of, or like every person. That's one person. You can see it goes like 20 columns. So far, I have no progress. In my last update, I had shared that I got my list from the county for delinquent tax list, and they had said that it would come with mailing addresses, and it only comes with street addresses, so covering a handful of different cities, and it only gives me a street address, and then a weird like code, kind of like a neighborhood code. The problem with the neighborhood code is there's hundreds of them, and the list is very large.
The reason I figured out it was even a problem is because I tried importing it into a free list aggregator. Envel, I don't know how to say it, Envelo. So I tried putting it in that, and it said you need a property address, a full property address, including zip code. And so I'm like, I'll try a different one. So I signed up for like a 1-month trial to RE Simply. Same thing. You have to have a full address, which makes sense. So then I reached out to the county. They responded this morning and said, hey, it used to come with the mailing address, but so we told you that, but it doesn't anymore. So you can manually pull all that information.
So how big is the list that you have?
I don't know how many names, but there's 21,000 columns. Even with the list of 1,200 people, I'm like, that's a lot of manual work. And I don't know, maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not. I I don't know.
Yeah, if I were you, I would just use PropStream. I
Okay.
think the plan that you said sounds like the right thing. County record stuff is annoying. They don't tell you about that in all these YouTube training videos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would go ahead and use PropStream for sure.
It's definitely a bummer because like I'm at a place where I'm like, I'm definitely certainly I'm still nervous about cold calling, but what I've been doing for the past couple weeks is I've been listening to Brent Daniels actually, cold calling people over and over again. I'm gonna be nervous about it, but I'm really like, that's not gonna be what's stopping me.
Brent Daniels is a big cold calling guy. It makes sense for him to, yeah, Grant, yeah. At the time, Brent Daniels was a really big cold calling guy, so makes sense that he's watching coaching from him. But again, you don't want to get stuck with analysis paralysis too much.
So I made a little bit of progress on cold calling. I did not have any success with it, but I have now cold called everybody that's on this very small list that I have.
And I wanted Brent to record the cold calling session so I could show you guys it, but I think he was too nervous to do so, so he didn't end up recording them. I understand, like if you haven't cold called before, it's nerve-wracking doing it without a camera on you, so I get it. It is what it is. It's fine. Ultimately, I want to make a great video for you guys, but at the end of the day, I want Brent to succeed. We're going to work with what we got and do what we can here.
I actually talked to voices of 2 people. One of them was said call back later. I got a hold of one other person that hung up on me, and so I'll just try everybody again tomorrow. All right, so I've been cold calling for, I don't know, a week or 2 now, and I'm just starting to hit my stride as far as like feeling comfortable. So it's not like I'm not talking to many people, but in fact, I have had nobody who's interested. I'll tell you that. But when I first started, it was like I was nervous to even pick up the phone. And then honestly, like the more that I did it, the more that I realized most of the people don't answer anyway. And so far, everybody that's answered it's either been the wrong number or they're not interested. Man, I need to get this process dialed in a little faster so that I can make more calls because, like I said, most of the people don't answer anyway. So I'm really looking forward to somebody who actually wants to talk at this point. Like I said, I was nervous. And at this point, it's like, just want to talk to somebody.
The thing that I'm seeing with cold calling, I mean, you said it would take a lot of reps, a lot of dials to get a lead or a deal. That's definitely what I'm seeing. My hunch is I've probably made about 200 calls at this point.
And how many people have you gotten hold of in total?
Yeah, so I'm at this point, I haven't started.
Okay.
I should start recording that, but I haven't been. I was so nervous. I just wanted to make a call, didn't want to record myself, didn't want to just quit making excuses to make calls. And then eventually I went, well, shoot, nobody's answering the phone anyway, so who cares? And then when people started answering the phone, what I'm finding is probably 1 in 10 actually answer the phone. That doesn't mean that we're having a real conversation. That just means they're answering the phone, right? Most of those answering the phones have either been not interested or wrong number. I've only talked to one guy who at all was kind of like, oh, maybe I'm considering selling, but I've talked to you cash home buyers before, and that's not what I'm looking for. I'd be looking to get market value, so there wouldn't be any spread for you, is what the guy said. That's the closest I've had. That's the only person who's actually said, I'm interested in selling at all.
So you've talked to, let's say, 200 calls. You've talked to 20 people roughly. Got it. I do want to say congrats. I mean, you started doing cold calling. You started a couple weeks ago. A lot of people would never do that. They would never make a phone call. You did something that made you uncomfortable. Maybe you didn't get as many leads as you want, or maybe you didn't get as far as you want, but I think it's worth taking a pause, reflecting, and it is already a win. One step in the right direction of doing what you need to do, conquering your fears. All that cliche stuff, whatever. But I want to ask you, how are you feeling? How's your motivation?
With no leads from the cold calling, I don't think I have too pipe of dreams that this is going to be easy and fast.
Okay. And how long has it taken you to make all these calls?
So what I found, I don't know exactly how much time I've put in. At this point, I was getting through about 25 calls an hour.
at your current rate, it took you 25 calls an hour, 200 calls for one lead. That's 8 hours for one lead. And let's say we need 50 leads. Maybe it's less, but let's do 50 leads. That's 400 hours. So if you do an hour a day, that's 400 days. That's a year. It's going to take a year to get a deal.
That's
At
why I
that
love
rate.
you. You break it down
Is
with
that
math.
Okay, so notice how I'm using math to solve the problems here. And that's a lot of things beginners look over is like, wholesaling is a game of numbers. It's a math game. Marketing is math. And wholesaling is largely marketing. Brent said he was only putting in about an hour a day. And with typical cold calling, it's about 40 to 80 leads to get a contract. It depends on the lead quality, depends on the list you're doing, but we got a pretty decent list. So we're going off of, again, napkin math, 50 leads per deal. And when you do the math out, that's when reality sets in. If we don't want it to take a year, we need to make more calls in a day. That's basically it. Like a triple dialer, for instance. Are you familiar? I'm sure maybe Brent has gone over that. Like Mojo Dialer or something, where basically it auto dials automatically and it can dial like 2-3 numbers at once. And that way you can get through a lot of numbers very quickly. Might be worth investing in Mojo Dialer. If you can do 4 times what you're doing with Mojo Dialer, it will take you 3 months to get a deal instead of a year.
Yep.
To me, makes sense.
No, that does make sense. If I'm going to do it or not, I don't know. Just with I have to prioritize money, and it has to make sense for Felicia too.
Maybe look at other ways, do some research, ways to increase the amount of calls you can make an hour.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is right. Like the average is like you're talking to 10% of the people, you got one lead in, like all that is exactly expected. It's just like, how can we get Brent to do 3 times as much and not take a year? In other news, maybe all this will be for naught because you got a lead in from SEO. Is that right? Was it SEO?
Yeah, I got an SEO lead.
Like I mentioned earlier, both Brent and I have carrot sites. And part of the benefit of having carrot sites is that they're built in a way where they can rank pretty well on Google. There are pros and cons to being in a small market. So the downside is that it's hard to generate a lot of leads. But the benefit is that with SEO, you can get your website ranked pretty high pretty quickly because there's not that much competition. There's really maybe 1 or 2 other investors in Brent's local market that are even trying to do this. And SEO, if you're unfamiliar, stands for search engine optimization. Basically, it's getting your website ranked pretty high. So when when a motivated seller types in, sell my home to an investor, then Brent's website can pop up and they'll fill out the form on his site and then he'll get a lead that way. And it doesn't cost him any money except for the website hosting.
I don't get many SEO leads in, but most promising leads I've had through my site have been in the city of Grants Pass, and so they're not in my market. This deal, or this lead, I should say, it's a house on 1.8 acres. It's a manufactured home. The woman grew up there. I don't know how old she is, but 50-something years old. She was living there with her mom recently, as of a couple years ago. Her mom was sickly, and so they turned the 4.2 manufactured home that was probably built, it's like a 1970s manufactured home. They converted it into a duplex, new flooring, new shower, that sort of thing.
And how long ago did the lead come in?
A week ago.
Okay. And you've not made an offer on the property yet?
No. So we talked. It took me, actually, honestly, that may have been more than a week. So she left she filled out my site. I called her multiple times. And I'm seeing, okay, so it's been June 6th, 14 days. I called her multiple times. She didn't answer. I texted.
It's been 2 weeks.
She didn't answer. Yep.
Okay. Oh, and when did you finally talk to her?
I probably talked to her a week ago.
Okay. So you have no idea. She could have already sold the property to someone else, and you would have no idea, right?
I've talked to her again since then. I talked to her yesterday.
And what was the second phone call about versus the first one?
First phone call, we were in the middle of the conversation and the call disconnected. I think her phone died. I tried calling back. She didn't answer, left a message, whatever. She was slow to get back to me. She called me back. I was at work. I wasn't able to call her back right away. So anyway, and that was the other thing. As I went on vacation, I was out of service camping as of Friday morning. So
Not great. Not great. If it's a common thing that it's going to take a week to get to somebody, you're going to miss out on a ton of deals, bro. It's going to be so hard. Like, the life of a wholesaler, I'll say this, like, you kind of have to be flexible with it. And I know you're on vacation with your family in the summer, and I get it. I'm not saying cancel your trip, but I am saying you have to, like, find a way to get back to these people very quickly. Like there's another Brent in Oregon doing the same thing as you are, and even if she's not ready, some sweet talking person is going to give her a call, lock it up on the phone, and you're going to be totally screwed. Ideally, you're making offers to these people in the very first phone call. Things disconnect, sure, whatever. But, like, the offer should be there within a day max. And that's, like, worst case scenario. Like, a week, no good. It's cringy. Like, it's too much. It's too much. We should be making offers on the phone. I can't say it enough.
I'm already nervous enough about making an offer. Now add in, I don't know what I'm doing to make an offer. Now add in, I don't even feel like I have all the details to make the offer and can't get a hold of her. It is what it is. But that's what I ran into, is all I'm saying.
And all I'm saying is, if you take a week to get an offer, you're not going to get the deal. There's an important point that needs to be made here. I see this happen all the time with beginners. Look, I'm not trying to encourage Brent to make offers and convince a home seller to sell a property to him when he has no idea what he's doing, right? I think there's a lot of bad wholesalers out there. They'll say whatever they need to say to a homeowner to get a property under contract, regardless of what the offer is. And then they have no problem just backing out of the contract last minute if they can't find a buyer for it. And that gives wholesalers a really bad reputation. So I want to make a distinction here. Regardless of Brent's skill level, an offer needs to be made to this lady. And this is the point I'm trying to make to Brent. And his response of, I don't feel comfortable, I'm scared, I'm nervous. Those types of thoughts are not problem-solving thoughts, right? We need to focus on, how do we solve the problem here? Okay, Brent doesn't feel comfortable making offers on properties. Brent doesn't know the market very well. He's new, right? This is very common with all newbies. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to estimate repairs. They, aren't super familiar with contracts. But there are solutions to that. Like, one, he's working with me, but two, find another investor that's in your local market. So what I did when I got started is I partnered up. I was networking and I met a local investor, and for the first couple of deals, I partnered up with him. He helped me make an offer. We walked through properties together, and he was with me side by side to make sure I was doing everything above board. I wasn't saying anything to the seller that was not true. But you can only get to that place if you're in the problem-solving mindset. And I would have loved Brent to say, okay, you're right, Tim, like, but, what do I do here? Again, that's why Brent is working with me and Greg. We can help him make offers. And the fact that a week went by and he didn't even tell me, so this is news to me. So the lead didn't come in. If the lead came in and he was like, hey, Tim, the lead came in right now. What do I do? I need to make an offer to this person right away, but I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, well, let's figure it out. Let's find someone who can help him, or maybe me or Greg does it or whatever. But he just let it sit there for a week and was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so, like, I'm just going to let it sit there. Like, that's not the mentality that you need to have in order to be successful.
She is now in Oklahoma. She moved to Oklahoma because she was tired of Grants Pass. Her daughter lives in the house. She wants to be done with the property. Her kids would like to be involved in getting money for the property, but they don't own it. And she's like, I just want to be done with it and not deal with it, not having it looming over my head.
Just be done with it is like a prime, like, trigger word for motivated seller. You should be, like, dialed in like an eagle when you hear just be done with it. Like, you should be like, this is game time. This may be a deal. It's a good sign of motivation. The reason you haven't made an offer as well, you don't know how to comp it, right? You're not sure what you should offer.
Correct.
In real estate, in order to make an offer, you need to understand the value of the house. And there's these things called comparables, comparable houses, comp for short, where basically you look at the characteristics of the home, so the size, the land, the beds, the baths, the style, and you look for homes that are similar within the same neighborhood. Ideally, depending on the market, things can change block to block, but ideally in the same type of area, within a half mile or quarter mile or less even. You try to find homes that are as similar to it as possible, and you see what those homes sold for in the last 3, 6, 12 months. and you try to use those numbers to determine the value of what you think this property would sell for. You have to take into account, like it's an art. Every market is different, especially in more rural areas like where Brent lives. There's not going to be a lot of homes. So you might have to expand your radius, and there's just a lot that kind of goes into it. So the problem with this property, it's a manufactured home, which means it's kind of like a trailer, and it was converted to a duplex. So it has 2 units now. And it's pretty uncommon. So we're struggling to find comparables.
First of all, it's an old manufactured home on property. Secondly, it's been converted into a duplex. I was looking on Zillow last night and struggling to find a decent comp.
So we don't have a Zestimate on this property. Okay,
Yeah.
it's covered by trees, so we can't really even see it. And it's also not this is the town, I
Correct.
think. It's not like a home in town, This is a home in the middle of nowhere out here.
Yeah.
All right, so definitely a tricky property. Realtor.com says estimated home value 300. Definitely a tricky one, which is not uncommon. When you're wholesaling, you come across a lot of weird properties, which is why knowing the market is important. Pro Grants Pass investor would know exactly what to do with this, whereas we do not. 4-2, and all these homes nearby. So this was just land. And it sold for $190,000. And this was just land.
So
This one sold for $350,000. Let's see what the details about it. This is a manufactured home from 1999, though. So maybe it's not worth $350,000, but it might be worth $300,000. And these are 2 bedrooms here for $250,000. What's this? 800 square foot property sold for $250,000. So this might be a $300,000 property, and it fixed up, obviously, and we don't know what the repairs and converting it to a single family will take some costs. Okay, this home is probably worth somewhere between $250,000 and $350,000 with some repairs to it. Did you come to that conclusion? What do you think about what I just did there?
Yep. Yeah. I guess that's loosely what I did. But I think in the back of my mind, I'm going, am I wrong? Because if I'm wrong, it's not going to be a deal. There's other factors like, is the house as nice as she's saying? I mean, she wants to sell her house. Is she lying to me? She hasn't sent me any pictures.
In my experience, the sellers don't like it. They should send you pictures, but like they're slow as heck at it. And oftentimes they're more motivated to send you pictures after you sign the contract with them. In the contract, you could have send me pictures. And if like they don't send you pictures, they're not going to get paid. And that actually gets them to do it. Otherwise, they don't really care. And the pictures suck sometimes. So a couple things that you could do here. This is where it goes back to when we talked about the buyer's list in the very beginning.
Oh, I know.
Right? Now, if you had people on your buyer's list in Grants Pass already, what I would do is give 3 of them a call. They can tell you really what they would pay for it. And then you can work the numbers that way. It's not like the most ideal thing. It's not the most by the book way to wholesale for sure. The thing is like it's risky because you don't know them. They could screw you, but it is a way to make deals happen.
I guess one of the issues I've had, because I've had a couple properties or a property around here that I tried to do that with, and I said, hey, would you give me an idea if this would be worth your time? They said, get it under contract and we can talk. And so I'm like, is that a common thing for like, I'm not talking to you unless we have a contract?
Yes, that is very common because there's 100 newbies out there calling these people all the time, wasting their time. And the odds are, if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to get the contract. So, yeah, I tell newbies the same thing when they call me. I say, yeah, give me a contract, otherwise shut up and go away. So what I would do in your situation is be completely honest with the seller and say, hey, I'd like to put the house under contract at $150. Give me 7 days. I need to have a partner come take a look at it, and then you will get our due diligence in, and then you'll know within 7 days. I want to make it very clear here is that we're not trying to hide anything from the seller. I'm always of the belief that you want to be extremely transparent with what you're doing, and you want to tell the seller, hey, look, like there's a chance this isn't going to work out. Like you want to emphasize if you're putting a home under contract with a week or 2 week contingency, and you're not sure if you're going to find a buyer or not, like we don't have a buyer in place, you need to be 100% upfront with the seller, say, understand the risks involved and everything like that. It can be kind of a tricky situation, but always like we're not trying to hide anything from the seller whatsoever. And then over that 7 days, you need to hustle, call these buyers. You get ballpark offers. 1 or 2 things will happen. They'll offer you more than 150, or then, hey, it's a deal. Boom, congratulations. Or they'll offer you less than 150. And at that point, you go back to the seller and say, hey, look, I didn't 100% know what the value was. Like, the condition's not as good as I thought it was going to be. Like, it just needs more work. Like, unfortunately, we can't do 150. We can do 110. It's not 150. You don't have to agree to it, obviously. But, 110, 100%, no contingencies, we're solid. If she says yes, you already have a buyer at 125. Like, it's already set. Like, that's kind of what really wholesaling is. Like, you don't actually have to know the repairs. You don't actually have to know the home value. You just have to get a buyer at a higher price than a seller and then get the spread. Like, that's what wholesaling is.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Game time. Obviously, regulations are being passed in all these different states, Oregon included, that now you need to have a license in order to do wholesaling. We did this experiment before that regulation was passed. So the point is that if you're wholesaling now, depending on the state you're in, you want to make sure you're following your local regulations.
Majority of that adds up, except for in my head, the contract piece. I don't understand contracts. What's the importance of a contract for her if I'm telling her we might not be able to even get this price?
You're acting like that she's doing you a favor, but like you are providing a service to her. It's like working at McDonald's and saying, why would the customer give us money? She needs to sign the contract for you to know that she's going to commit to working with you. Like it is part of the process.
Yeah. So I mean, but how do I guess I.
Does that answer your question?
That does, yeah. Thanks for this. There's a couple things. Obviously, I'm nervous, and don't know what I'm doing. Combine those two
Naturally.
things. So yeah. No, what you're saying makes sense.
Yeah.
I get it. I know the next step. I'll call the buyer, the seller. I called her yesterday, made an offer, and made an offer of $151,000. This is my brain. I'm going, okay, you're not supposed to use totally round numbers. So I want 151 instead of 150. After we made the offer and she accepted, we pulled more comps and I'm going, I probably should have gone 10,000 less. There was one really rough one that was like 210 on the same street, recent, like within the past couple months. So anyway, that one takes a hit on the comps. And I'm going, I hope we can make it work. She has not signed the contract. When I messaged her, I also asked for some pictures. I said, we really need those. The other thing is I'm wondering if when I talk to her, I'm like, she didn't push back at all on the price. And so I told her 151 and she was like, yeah, sounds good. I went, oh crap. She didn't even push back. I could have kicked at least 10,000 off. Mistakes
like this are common, especially when you're getting started. So don't be too hard on yourself. Great job, by the way. I'll say that. Great job. I know this isn't easy. It's not meant to be easy. There's a reason why a lot of people don't do it. I applaud you for that. You're doing all the right stuff. With that being said, next step is, I know you haven't gotten the contract back yet, but getting a buyer is crucial. You only have 10 days. If I were you, I would start calling buyers. Maybe not even give them the address yet, but feeling out the price.
No, and honestly, I want to talk with you about that because I'm a little bit like, what the heck am I doing? I was going to post it, but then I'm like, I don't have pictures or a contract. So I'm supposed to say, hey, I loosely have this address, or I loosely have this property. Looks like it should be under contract today. I'm going, is that sufficient for people, like especially
okay, so let's say you call buyers. What's the worst that happens? What do they say?
Call me back when you have something.
Okay, what's the best? You're right. And what's the best case scenario if that happens?
Yeah, they give me some information.
And if you don't call any of them, what's the worst that happens?
In my brain, I was going, if I call them, worst case scenario is they go, leave me alone, don't call me. Oh, I don't want to burn bridges.
You think about it this way.
Pitching it.
Like you're basically saying, Tim, I have $1 for you, but I'm only going to charge you 70 cents for it. Do you want it? I'm not going to say no to that.
Okay.
And you can't burn my bridge. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'll say, look, if your dollar, I don't know if your dollar's real or not. It might be fake. Call me back when you have proof the dollar's real. Sure. But am I going to say, no, never give me free money in the future? No, I'm not going to say that. Like, you're not going to burn anyone's bridges.
Okay,
you're doing these buyers a favor. Yeah. Deals are hard to come by, man.
Okay.
So keep going through it, man. It's a good learning experience, regardless what happens. Whether the deal closes or falls apart, you've learned a lot and will be better off moving forward. So either way, this is a win. but like hopefully it can be a profitable one. So keep it up, man. Keep me posted. Yeah, text me if you need anything urgent, because I know sometimes this stuff can be stressful. So Brent proceeds to text me. So he got a hold of some buyers, and they gave him some disappointing information. Basically, the manufactured home is just a couple years too old, where then it may not pass like poisoning law, like all properties built before 1976, they don't have the same standards of lead. So therefore, it's hard to get financing on it. So banks will not mortgage these types of properties because of liability. So it makes a huge difference for a buyer, because now when an investor wants to buy the property and then resell it, they can only resell it to someone who wants to pay cash for it. You can't sell to the general public who typically gets a mortgage on it, because you no longer can finance it. So it really hurts the value of the property. So much so that most investors won't even touch it. And then Brent's basically saying is because him and his wife are doing this together, his wife just went ahead and voided the contract before she even signed it. And I get it, but like I'm like, why is that the first thing that you do? Like, there's a contingency on the contract. The seller knows exactly what's going on. Voiding the contract, all it does, when you don't even necessarily know, like you've already basically given up on the deal based on one person's opinion that they gave you. They've already voided the contract and said this isn't going to work. Jumping to conclusions is a bit much, right? Like looking for a way out of it, in my opinion. That's what it seems. So it's frustrating. So I did this interview with Greg, which you can check out on my channel. And in the middle of the interview, I get a call from Brent, and he's not happy. You remember Brent we were talking to?
Yeah.
He got his first property under contract.
From what I told him to do?
No, actually, it's from an SEO lead. From a carrot site.
Yeah,
in like near his area.
Yeah.
He's like freaking out about the deal. Like he priced it wrong. He's trying to get the contract back. He just told me to call him, so I'm curious if you're cool with hopping on the phone for 5 minutes and chatting with him. Or,
Sure. That's funny. This is a good interview, dude. You're really getting me good, dude.
I'm trying.
I'm being so straight up with these numbers too. Like this is conservative too.
Hey, dude.
Hey, so funny enough, I have Greg with me because we're recording another video. Greg, say hi, Greg.
Hey, buddy.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot,
Hi.
but anyway, tell me what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm happy actually you guys are both here. But so honestly, I was calling you because I am finding something that I didn't realize, and I've been wrestling with it, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I've been wrestling all day with going, and all week, like, this sucks. This is the they're not life giving.
This deal is stressing him out.
I'm like, I don't know how people do this. This is so incredibly not my personality. And I'm like, I'm torn up, as silly as it sounds. I'm like, I told you this morning that the last couple days, I've been like, my mindset is out there, and I'm feeling it again today, man. Like, I was telling Felicia, I want to, like, you're talking to you guys, like, gives me accountability, right? Like, it makes me go, even on the days where I'm like, I don't want to cold call. I'm like, I'm cold calling. Because I told Greg I would.
I respect that, bro.
So, well, yeah, and so that's been a big part of me just going, I'm going to keep going. But now I've got a deal, and it's not a deal. I shouldn't say a deal. I've got a potential deal, and I'm like, this doesn't feel good to me. And I guess what I'm saying is, I'm like, I don't know that I want to keep doing this. I feel like I'm going to be wasting your time, and I'm going to be wasting my time, because I'm like, that was one of the things that I was talking with Ricky about today. Is I just said, like, this is tough, and he was like, man, this is so tough, and it's one of those things where I have days where I go, should I just be at a W-2? And I'm like, I thought I enjoy real estate. Like, I'm seeing what I want. I wanted to wholesale just because it means having an opportunity to buy properties, to buy rentals. And that's the piece that I want. I enjoyed that piece. I enjoyed figuring out how to buy rentals and getting a, passive cash flow. But man, this is the high stress of how do you, I don't know, matching people up quickly. And I mean, I'm talking to you guys, and you guys were like, I do this all the time. So I don't know, my like soul, my spirit doesn't feel like it can handle that. Like my will says keep going, and my inner me is like, no, this is bad for you and your family.
What is it specifically that's giving you such a hard time about the property?
So I don't even know that it's just the property. It's just it's something where it's like, I told you earlier, like I press into the hard things. I don't want to quit something because it's hard. I want to step into things that are scary. That's how I was cold calling and went, I'll just get over it, and I got over it. And that part isn't even awful. But like, I think this is the specific thing, and it's not even one specific thing, but it's like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to say the right thing. I don't know. I can't even just, I'm saying it's knowing what right things to say, but there's so many moving pieces.
Hey, let me ask you a question, pal. What does the seller try to get you to buy the house for?
The seller wants 151.
So I basically told him to just keep talking to buyers and get an actual offer.
Yeah, talk to like 10 people, and if you get 10 out of 10 no go, try to get like 1 or 2 offers out of them. And if they're like, hey, I'll be at 120 or whatever, then you got to go back to the seller and offer like 90.
Just try to get an offer.
Yeah, just try to get, like, dude, anything will sell at the right price. Listen, get an offer, or at least ask them, listen, if you were me and you were buying this house, what would you pay for it? And that could be their unofficial offer. And then at that point, because you want to validate the market, and then at that point you can come back to the seller and be like, hey, like, I didn't know that X, Y, and Z with a year built. In order for us to move forward, I know you're going to say no to this, and I totally get it, but I'm going to be at 95. And I know it's probably not going to work for you, but I just tell you that's where we're at. And then if you got a guy to pay you 120 for it, then there you go.
And it's not, in this situation, Brent, is not uncommon.
Yeah, this happens to me like every like 2 weeks, bro. Like fucking, this is a normal. You're just not used to it because you haven't done it. Of course you're stressed out.
I'm like, I don't know how you guys do it, because I'm like, that's the thing. I feel like I'm used to the, like, this is new, so this is uncomfortable and makes me feel weird.
Yeah. You know, it's like the first time you have sex. It's super weird. And then after a while, you're just looking forward to it. It's the best.
You have to embrace the struggle.
Dude, when I lost my V card, I like crawled in this girl's basement and fucking was like James Bond. And...
His kids are probably listening. Come on, Greg.
Dude, well, I didn't know that. No, but I'm just trying to use a goofy analogy to make a point.
I know.
The reason it feels this way is because you've never done it before, and if you didn't feel this way, I would be concerned.
Yeah.
If he was like, oh, like, you know, like you have empathy and I can tell you're a good guy, so I understand why you feel this way. But the real answer to your question is, this will feel this way until it doesn't feel that way, because you'll either get used to it or you'll decide you want to just buy rentals, which is totally fine too.
But I think you should try to at least do one deal.
Oh,
so
absolutely. 100%. I would say 2 or 3. 1 is not enough sample size. 2 or 3 would be, and then they'll make money too. It's like, you know, you make 30, 40, 50 grand. It's like, it's a good experiment if you ask me.
Yeah.
You know?
How? Not how do you make, I think, how do you guys get through I mean, did you guys feel ridiculous?
I used to be scared as fuck to lock deals up, dude. I used to be scared as shit. Like, I was like, oh my God, I owe the seller money and I don't know, I can't buy it myself. Like, dude.
I remember my first property I got under contract.
Terrifying.
It was a disaster. I estimated the repairs incorrectly. And I remember I was in Target. By myself. And I was in tears on the phone, basically being like, I'm the worst person in the world. Like, I have to back out of this contract. I called the seller and he's like, okay, bye. Yeah. I'm like, what you're going through is normal.
Yeah, very normal, bro.
I would just say, like, don't make any big decisions about, like, canceling this whole thing.
Don't make big short-term, don't make permanent decisions on temporary feelings, right?
So keep calling buyers, keep trying to do it.
Get 10 people, try to get 10 people on the phone, and if you get 10 out of 10, nobody wants it, ask them what price they would want it for, and then at least you have some feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep swinging the bat, kid.
Hang in there, man.
All right, guys. Thank you.
You're welcome, kid.
All right, man.
See ya.
Take it easy.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
That would have been a great YouTube video, dude.
I know.
I was thinking that. I'm like, this thing's on film. No, I get it, man. But he just got the deal doesn't make sense. But he's got to learn this to do it. Like,
He's just every step of the way. He's just like trying to fail. I'm like, dude. Just keep. It's just like a newbie, and it's all emotional, which is what we're trying to get at in this video.
Exactly.
Brent proceeds to call the buyers and then texts me an update that he still couldn't get any offers to it. And look, it's a challenging property. Like, maybe it won't turn into a deal. Regardless, it's not the point. The whole experiment of what we're trying to do here is to teach Brent how to wholesale and to teach him the mindset and the skills that you need in order to be a consistent wholesaler. Whether this deal falls apart or doesn't isn't the point. The point is if you take these consistent actions, the next one you get under contract maybe won't fall apart and it will be a deal. So just follow the advice over and over again, and like Greg says, keep swinging the bat. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it, suck it up, and keep pushing. I'm nervous. I'm nervous that he's actually gonna quit. If he does, man, it's his choice, and it is what it is, but, you know, I'm just gonna try to talk to him because I really do think wholesaling is what he wants. And he can do a really good job with it. Brent. I think I just need to talk some reality into him. And I tell him that it's not supposed to be easy, that it's supposed to be difficult. And what did he expect? And to stick with it. And I think at the end of the day, he's going to be happy he did.
I don't know if I'm going to that I want to do anything after this deal. If this deal goes through and I end up with a huge paycheck, maybe that'll be motivation to keep going. But it is enough, like, it was stressful enough where I'm like, I can't, like this. I was thinking this was going to be more like the rental side of things, where it's like things get stolen out of your rentals, the tenant doesn't pay, but it's like, at least with those, it's like my timeline. I can go fix things on my timeline. Whereas wholesaling, I should have known this, but it's not my timeline at all. You get a potential deal, you do everything you can to lock that deal up, kind of a drop everything type of thing, which is, it's difficult with a family, right? Like, not to say it can't be done if I wanted it bad enough. I think to me, the part that feels like kind of unbearable is the pressure of I have to do it right now. And it isn't bringing me nearly the same level of joy as, say, buying a rental and then fixing it up. But as far as this deal, calling potential buyers, first one I talked to threw a big curveball in this. I told him the deal. He's like, great deal. Then he said, oh, it's a manufactured home. What year manufactured home? 1972 or something like that is what we ended up figuring out. And he was like, oh, instantly, nope. It went from a great deal to a not a good deal at all. You can never finance that in Oregon. It's too old of a manufactured home. The cutoff is like 1976. It's older than that. We'll never be able to finance. So all of those comps you're looking at aren't comps. Everybody I talked to, every buyer kind of said the same thing, like, oh, maybe I'm interested. Tell me more. What year is it? And then they would laugh at me, or they'd be like, nope, not a deal. Not interested at all. Eventually got a hold of a guy who said he's interested. And at this point, it was feeling like not a deal. In fact, we had voided the contract we had sent because she hadn't signed it. This guy ended up saying, like, my price point wasn't too far off for what he was willing to pay. But he's like, give me something. Give me pictures. Give me the address. Give me something. I don't have any pictures still. So I ended up just giving him the address. And he said, yep, like, this is the price point I'd be able to do. But I need to see pictures to know if it'd be the high end of that price point or the low end. Then I've been trying to get a hold of the seller ever since, I renegotiated, offered the seller $135, explained the situation, said, like, send me a contract, I'll look it over. That was a week and a half ago, and I've talked with her a couple times since then, but she's so slow. So she has not signed it. She hasn't looked at it. In fact, all the stressing I was doing when I was talking to you and Greg about how awful this is and I've done everything wrong and I canceled the contract and I shouldn't have, come to find out, I talked to her after all of this, and she was like, she hadn't looked at any of my emails, texts, voicemail. She had no idea any of this happened.
The goal is to try to minimize the amount of effort that the seller needs to put in. You know, they need help. There's a reason they're in this situation. They like need help. They're not always the easiest people to work with in the world. Why do you think she's taking so long? Do you know?
No, why in reality she's taking so long? I don't know. I know the excuses she's giving me.
The excuses of?
First, it was she was riding home from work on a bike. There was a tornado warning. her phone fell in a puddle and broke her phone, which is where she's able to access her email. That's when I had been sending her the contract, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I don't use that email anymore either because my phone fell in the puddle. Remember I told you? So now I have a different email." And then she said like she's working massive overtime at work. I usually
Right.
call her around like 10 a.m. and she always sounds super groggy, and it's like kind of I woke her up type of thing. And she's always telling me she just got off work. I don't know what's
Yeah.
real, what's not.
Okay, let's assume that everything she's saying is true, and very well could be. Try to put yourself in her perspective. She's working massive overtime, dealing with tornadoes. She is technologically inept a little bit. Her daughter's living in the property. Maybe doesn't want her to sell it. Maybe the family's giving her a hard time. She's probably just tired. And then you're trying to work with Brent here. You know, she's working with you. You're changing your price around, setting a contract, canceling a contract. She's like, what's this guy doing? Can I trust this guy? I don't know. I'm not saying she thinks that, but I could see how she could think that. And then, you know, in an ideal world, here's what I would send her. Maybe you've already done this, but it's like, hey, here's the plan. I know you're tired. I know you're exhausted. I'm going to make this as easy for you as possible. Here's the contract at 135. All I need you to do is DocuSign this contract. It'll take 5 minutes to do it. You know, give me your daughter's maybe number. I'll text her. I'll set up a time to get in there within the next couple weeks. I will take some pictures. We'll just confirm, you do our inspection, make sure everything's good to go. Nothing will probably come up, but I'll let you know when that's all done. And then from there, we'll send all the documents to the title company. Like, it's just like providing the seller certainty. Like, here's all the steps that it's like making her feel less overwhelming about the situation. It's a people business. Like, it's literally what we're doing. We're trying to understand people. It takes time to figure out, but oftentimes that's what people need. And oftentimes they don't understand themselves. So we have to know them better than they know themselves sometimes, which is, it's a lot to ask. It's not easy to do. Have you been doing any cold calling since this contract came up?
Nope. When I was first got the deal, I was so massively stressed, like kind of making myself sick type of stress. I was making my family stressed. That's part of why I'm like, I don't think I want this. And my family doesn't want this. At this point, I've gone, I don't care if I get the deal or if I don't get the deal. I'm not going to give up on the deal. But I in my brain, I'm like, I've learned what I wanted to know. This for past 2-3 years, I've been trying to like dabbling in wholesaling, thinking I just wanted to get a deal. And now I'm like, I want to get the money. I don't know how much money the stress that I was feeling and bringing to my family will be worth it. So no, I have not been cold calling.
And it's mainly because it puts stress on your family?
Yeah, stress on me and my family.
What is it that puts stress on your family? Is it the fact that you get stressed?
I mean, that's probably the main thing, yeah. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that is the thing, yeah.
Okay. Look, yeah, like, do what you want. Like, if you want to quit doing it, like, your life, you know, up to you. My main or concern is like what are you gonna do instead? Like, the hard reality is that like shit's hard no matter what you do. Like, like, why did you get into why did you even want to do this in the first place? Like, there must have been some pain in your life where you're like, I want to do wholesaling because it'll resolve some type of stress I'm currently feeling, right?
So ultimately, the wholesaling was to raise capital to buy more rentals, and it's real estate, right? I've bought houses. So like buying houses is not stressful to me. Buying houses is fun to me. I enjoy it. And so why not do something that I can raise money to do that in the same field?
You want to do wholesaling to buy rentals. Like, what I'm trying to get at is like, isn't there stress right now in your life currently? Like, from like money stress or whatever, like, you know, putting $200 towards prop stream is like a lot of money or whatever it was, you know? And I thought one of the reasons you want to get into wholesaling was because money was already kind of was stressful. Is that true or not true anymore?
No, it is true. Even if I just let the rentals ride, at no point am I going to get where I want to be financially. I'm not saying that. At no point am I going to be able to be frivolous with money and be where I want to be. I need more income to make that happen.
No matter what you do, it's not going to make your life easier. You know, like, wholesaling is not going to make your life less stressful. Like, it's not. Running my business when I was wholesaling and even now, it's fucking stressful, dude. Like,
Yeah.
It's stressful. Like, business is stressful, you know? Fucking Trevor makes $5 million a year, some crazy number. The guy seems fucking stressed out too sometimes, you know? I know he's, you know, taking trips to God knows where, but like, For me, I'll tell you something that I've learned in the past 4 years. So maybe this will resonate, maybe it won't. Like I was wholesaling for a long time, and I think I was making like, 40. I was making between like 40 to like 80 grand a year, roughly. I think my best year was like 80 most of the time. It probably averaged at like 55 or 60 grand. And I was kind of plateaued for like 3-4 years. This was like 2015, 2018. And 2019, I hired a coach. Now that 2019, I made $50,000 with Carrot. That's my salary, 50 grand. And my business lost $20,000. I hired a coach that year. I hired a coach spending $1,000 a month. I'd make 30 grand a year and I'm spending $1,000 a month. Stupid. Any Dave Ramsey would be rolling over, in his grave with that. But it was the best decision I ever made. And what I learned from this coach was a key skill that, come 2020, my income was like 100. And then 2021, it was like 250. And then last year it was like 250. And I went from like making like 50 grand a year to then 100 grand to 200 grand. And I'm kind of like now plateaued, kind of like there. I'm probably going to make a little bit less than that this year. But there's like one main difference. There's like one main thing that I did differently that I learned from my coach that allowed me to make more money. And stress management. Stress management is the thing that I learned how to do. I got to a point. Now, this may be you, it may not be you. Only you know. I don't really know you that well. But like I would build a wholesaling business and I would get to a point where like it would be too stressful where I wouldn't do it anymore. Okay. And I would sabotage myself subconscious, like all subconsciously. But I would like make decisions or avoid decisions or whatever to not get further in my wholesaling business. Like I wouldn't spend more money on marketing because it was too stressful, or I wouldn't fire the person I needed to fire, or I wouldn't work as hard. It was like there was a lot of things I could have done to make more money I didn't do because it was more stressful. But as I was working with my coach through 2019, 2020, learning ways to manage my stress and my relationship with stress, I was able to then handle more stress, which allowed me to do more things to make more money. Like I kind of always knew what to do, but it was like the ability to not run away from stress anymore. To me, that's been the biggest difference in my life that has allowed me to succeed. Now, everybody's different. I'm not saying this is you, but it sounds like it might be a little bit, like it sounds like you're just trying to run away from stress, and like you can do that, but it doesn't make sense to me because, being broke, I'm not saying you're broke, but like not having money is fucking stressful. Not having money is stressful. Working hard and growing a business is also stressful. Like there's really no way around it. Like you're going to be, unfortunately, that's like the hard truth. Like no matter what you do, life is going to be hard. It's just like, pick the hard thing. Like, do you want your problem to be I'm broke, or do you want your problem to be this lady is being a pain in the ass? Like either one suck. Ask Trevor and ask which one he would choose. He'll choose the I'm rich problem, versus the I'm broke problem. They're still problems. So what I'm concerned about is that you quit doing this because you think, oh, like it's too stressful. I can't handle this. Because you can't handle the stress, you're going to quit. And then like, you're still going to be stressed out in your normal life because that's why you wanted to do rentals and wholesaling in the first place. And then like, you could do day trading. Like maybe it's less stressful, but is day trading proven to make a lot of money? I don't know. Like, is that going to be stressful down the road? You're going to lose a shit ton of money as you grow. Like if you're actually making serious money day trading, it's probably going to add stress, I imagine, because you're risking more money.
So I
don't really know how it works.
I should add something because I'm saying stress. I don't know that the only word is stress. When I was buying rentals, there was a lot of stress involved in that. Not every moment of it was joyful, but the process of it was fun to me. Not just a hurdle to jump over, but it was something where I'm like, I actively enjoy this. Wholesaling, sure. I haven't enjoyed.
This is like your first deal. It may fall apart. Not every deal is like this. And you're like so quick to just be like, this isn't for me. I'm like, well, maybe it's not for you. Like, honestly, maybe it's not. Like all the points you made are completely valid. Like wholesaling is not fun for a lot of people. There's a reason I don't wholesale that much anymore, and I did an agency. It's like literally the same reason. Like, why are you so? I mean, you maybe been doing it 2 years, but like it seems like the first obstacle comes along, you're like, I'm out. Like you're like Like, why did you even do this in the first place if you're going to quit so easily? Like, you don't actually know if wholesaling you're going to like or not because you've never made any money doing it. You don't trust that it's ever going to work. So you're like, this is never going to work. I'm not good at this. I'm going to quit. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, you're just quitting too soon. Like, you're literally just quitting too soon. I understand if you do close deals, you close a couple deals, and then you're like, I don't like working with these people, these scummy wholesalers or whatever. Like, I don't like going to these weird neighborhoods. Sure, never done deals. You've never seen the positive of it,
I agree with that.
in my opinion.
No, you are correct, because you're right. I haven't done a deal, but the more that I get into it, the more I'm going, nope. I didn't want to do this, and it doesn't seem fun to me.
Sure, yeah, that's fine, and I get that. I just don't think at this point that should be a factor in determining whether you should quit or not. Like, whether you enjoy it or not is like, doesn't matter to me. Like, you're trying to get a deal done. You're trying to like see if you like doing it, and like the fact whether you enjoy it when you're so early on.
But
Like,
it does matter
you
to
don't
me.
know if you enjoy it. Why? Why does it? But why does it matter to you? Like, why does it matter so much when you're literally just getting started? You don't really know wholesaling that much. Why does it need? Why do you need to enjoy it?
Partially because if I don't enjoy it, then I'm going to run into what I'm running into right now. Each step of the way, I go, I don't want to keep doing this, and then I go to this part and I go, I don't want to. And I think that at the end of the day, if I keep running into I don't want tos, then why am I going to? If there was this other side hustle that I did get joy from, I did enjoy, why would I not instead figure out something like that?
I mean, if it was working really well for you, you would keep doing that and you wouldn't have done wholesaling in the first place. If it was really making all your dreams come true, you know what I mean? Like, you would only do rentals. Like, the grass is always greener. Like, you know what I mean? Like, rentals obviously aren't the only thing like for you. Otherwise, you would have just kept doing it. You never would have even thought to do wholesaling, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I ultimately, it's coming from a place of love. Like, I want what's best for you. If you want to quit, fine, but like, you better give me a damn good reason. Like, because I want to help you. And I think a lot of people struggle with the same thing that you're kind of struggling with a bit. And I struggle with it too. I still struggle with it. And it's just like, to me, business, whether you're doing rentals or trading stocks or wholesaling, it's a personal growth, you know, medium. Yeah, it sucks and it's not fun, but there's a lot of benefits. I think there are skills that you can learn from wholesaling that will help you make more money. Okay. And it's not necessarily sales. It's like whatever the pain or the shit that you don't like doing is probably a skill that can make you more money. And to me, it's like, well, the fact that you're like, don't want to learn these skills is maybe why like you're not making as much money now as you want to make. It's like, you would have already done it. I think if like you maybe embraced the suck a little bit more, you wouldn't be in the situation in the first place. Like, you would have already conquered all this shit that you're trying to conquer now. It's like, that is part of what is maybe the constraint from like going to the next level. Unfortunately, to get the skills oftentimes requires like eating shit. Like, it's just the way it works. Like, any person who's made a lot of money has eaten shit for who knows how long. And if you're not willing to eat shit, no matter what you're doing, you're only going to get to a certain point. And like, I know you already eat shit, and I'm not saying like you've gone through a lot of shit, and I get that. And you're a strong person. I think you're a stronger person than me. You have more resilience than me. I do believe that, because you've gone through a lot harder shit than me, I think. But it's like, if no matter what you do, like, I don't really give a fuck if it's wholesaling. I don't. Like, I really don't. But it's like the relationship with, this sucks, I want to do something that I enjoy more. Like, that attitude to me could potentially prevent you from making more money regardless of what you're doing. Because everything that every type of business that you're going to start, you're going to hit that point eventually. And I do believe that. And it's like, if you're going to quit now with wholesaling, it's just going to happen with every single thing that you do. That's my fear. I don't know if that's true. I can be dramatic and extreme, but that's my concern.
And honestly, I'm wrestling
Just
with
being honest.
I'm wrestling with these same things. I have been wrestling with, why could I go through it with not just jobs? Like, why could I go through it with rentals? Certainly, rentals was extremely stressful. It was like lots of new skills. I definitely don't argue with, I'm going to build lots of skills if I continue wholesaling. Why can I do it with rentals and I'm not, and then I'm feeling completely different with wholesaling? That's the part in my brain I'm also wrestling with. Like, because with the rentals, I kept going, embrace the suck, embrace the suck, embrace the suck. This sucks. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get into what I'm doing more. So I went into it with that mindset. I thought I was going into wholesaling with the same mindset? Honestly, I don't know. Based on everything I've seen in life up to this point, I would not argue with you one bit about you push through the hard things, because those are the things that are going to grow you most. And seeing that I've had the willpower and the resilience in my past with what I'm feeling right now with wholesaling, I've seen myself with that willpower, and I don't feel it, and I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't have an answer to give you. It might be something I have to come back in a week and go, this is what I've come up with. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know what else to say. I agree with you.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I appreciate you being honest. This shit's hard, man. Like, I'm not being super nice. I'm not trying to be nice. And I appreciate you taking it and giving me, you could give me a lot more resistance than you're doing. So, I appreciate you, Brent. And it's hard, and like, if you don't want me to publish any of this stuff, like, I have no intentions of doing it. Like, if we don't close a deal, like, I probably will just like throw in the trash.
Anything
It's like
you want of this. I really wouldn't care if you did like a pussy attempt at wholesaling. Fail. Like, I don't like
quits the sucks and yeah.
Like, just know
okay.
This has been part of. I would say the only reason I didn't quit 2 weeks ago and just completely throw away the deal is because I had that conversation with you and Greg, and you're like, quit being a pussy, keep going, like, don't do this. And I genuinely, like, I look at the time you've put into me. I look at the time Greg's put into me. I look at Pete has put time into me with this. And so I'm like, I realize I don't deserve that. I realize, like, I don't deserve, like, some random guy, like, that has not proven himself with business at all, does not deserve time with somebody who has done, who's making $250,000 a year. I don't deserve it. I haven't made it anywhere, but that's the only thing that's been pushing me this far is I went, I'm going to try this. Tim's put time into me. These people have put time into me. They care about me. I'm not going to give up. And honestly, I'm going, I'm just beating my head against the wall at this point because I hate it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll say this, I could help a lot of people. Like, I could do a lot of, people ask me to mentor them and like, oh, I want to get my first deal. And like, usually I just ignore them. But there's a reason why I want to help you. Like, I'm not doing it. I see that you can do it. Like, some people have it and some people don't. Like, some people lie to themselves and some people don't. And you don't lie to yourself. Like, I know that you can do it. Like, I know that, like, I wouldn't put time into you if I didn't know for 100% conviction that you can do this. Like, I know that you can. Like, most people, I'm like, dude, you're a fucking flake. Like, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to me. Like, you're a fucking poser. You don't actually want to do it. Like, they don't actually have what it takes. They don't actually want to suffer or willing to suffer. No one wants to suffer, but no one's willing to do it. You're willing to do it. You've already done it. That's why I put in time into it. That's why Greg's willing to do it. Like, he sees it. He wouldn't be wasting his time. Pete wouldn't be wasting his time either. Like, and I think, like, it sucks. And maybe some of it is like, wholesaling is hard and it's going to turn you into this like shitty person that's so stressed out and bitter and like your family's going to hate you or whatever. Like, that's extreme. But like, I think you already have taken some lessons away. Like, you've already, like, it already proven to work. Like, the fact where you were like, I give up, like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, this was stressing me out where the point I was getting sick. And then I was like, you know what? I surrender. Like, you're like, I surrender. It is what it is. Like, whether the deal falls apart or not, I'm not going to stress about it. And to me, that is personal growth. Like, that is literally what happens. Like, you hit the suck. You got stressed out. It was unbearable. And you made a decision where like you're like, I'm going to be above this. And then you didn't get stressed anymore. And then you're able to move on. To me, that's like a microcosm of the whole journey of like what the whole point is. Like, that is already a win. Like, you are already better at business and like able to handle stress than you were before you got into this deal and before you got wholesaling. So to me, I'm like, the whole process is fucking working. Like, it's working. Like, you are already able to handle it better now than you were a month ago. Like, you know what I mean? And it's only going to continue to happen. Like, and you haven't made any money yet. It's like already a win. You have, and you actually will make money. Like, I know that you will. I don't know if this deal is it might fall apart. It might not. I don't know. But I just think like this whole wholesaling thing can make you better at dealing with stress. And you can get to a point where it doesn't have to affect your family, because that is not necessarily a wholesaling problem. It's a Brent problem. Like, it's Brent's relationship with wholesaling is the problem. It's not really the wholesaling. People can wholesale, like, in a perfect world, like, you could wholesale and be like, look, like, and this is a point where I got to, like, I mean, wholesaling for 5 years, and it's like, it becomes just kind of like mindless, where you're like, I do marketing, I'm not expecting anything. Like, I have 4 properties under contract. Next month, I may make 50 grand. They may all fall apart. This is the life I've chosen. You know, it is what it is. Like, that is, and it's like an acceptance. And that's, and honestly, that's how it goes. Like, in the beginning, it's like so up and down of like, oh man, like this deal fell apart and this deal didn't. But you get to a point where you're like you don't have any control over it. And it is one of the downsides of wholesaling. It is one of the downsides. There's a reason why I don't continue to do it, because of the up and down income and unpredictability. It is unpredictable unless you're doing a crazy amount of deals. That's not going to go away. I'm telling you, like, it's not. But your ability to deal with it will get better. And I think that skill, that ability to deal with it, can make you money. It can make you money in wholesaling. It can make you money flipping properties. It can make you money doing other things. And I think that skill is worth suffering for. That is what I think. And I think that if you quit, you're doing yourself a disservice of like getting better at that skill, which ultimately I think will help your family in the long run. You know, dealing with unpredictability, uncertainty, and all that kind of shit that you're getting stressed out about, you know, you don't have to get stressed about all these things happening. It's just what's happening. You know, I think there's opportunities for you to learn and get better. And I think you already are. So to me, I'm like, when I was telling Greg after the phone call, then he called us, I was like, I was excited. I know that you were, it sounds shitty, but like, you were so upset, but I was excited. I was like, this to me means he's close. Like, he is suffering so badly and it sucks, but like, this is what it takes. And I was like, Greg, I know he's going to do it now, because he's going through it. And like, it always comes out on the other side. Like, you always come out better. You're always glad you did it. I don't know. Maybe that's like a twisted, like, sociopathic way to think about life. But like, whenever I go through shit of like in business, or like I feel like everything's falling apart, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna learn something here, and it's gonna be better on the other side.
Yeah.
And I think you're there. It's like the 5 feet from gold. I'm like, you're suffering so hard, but to me, like, that's the point. Like, that means you're actually close. Like, it means now you're actually close. Like, you weren't actually close before because you weren't suffering. It's the people who like watch the Tony Robbins videos and like read Robert Kiyosaki for 5 years. They're never going to close the deal because they don't ever get to the point where it's hard. You know what I mean? But like, you're there, and I'm like, he's so close. I'm so excited for him. Anyway, that's my mentality. So when I hear you say, oh, I want to quit, I'm like, oh, but Brent, you're learning so much. You've already gotten better at stress management. You're so close to getting a deal. If you quit now, like, you know, when are you going to learn that skill? Like, it's never going to happen. You know, where are you going to get it from? And I'm like, man, it's not about wholesaling. It's just about like the relationship with dealing with things to be successful. And that's why I like business and I like wholesaling, and I'm glad I did it, because I learned a lot about sales and about myself and about adversity and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's my rant, and that's all I got for you. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. And that's why I'm being hard on you, because I know that you're close. So it sucks. And if you want to quit, I respect that. I do. I just want you to see where I'm coming from. So, yep. That's all I want to say, man. Anything else? Thoughts on that?
No, I have to. I'll give more thought into my thoughts and come back to you with where I'm at with things.
And if you can't figure out your thoughts, just listen to Tim and Greg. Ignore your thoughts and just trust in us, and it's going to work out for you, because sometimes our thoughts aren't always correct.
Yeah, that's fair.
My thoughts are always correct too. And my coach that I work with, you know, oftentimes when I get into like a rabbit hole of deep thought, he's like, Tim, you're just wasting your time. Just like do what I tell you. I'm like, okay, fine. You would get in our own way sometimes. So I'll leave you with that. You know, do what you have to. But I'm here for you. I support you either way. And if you end up quitting wholesaling, I'll still help you in any way I can, doing other things. But I hope you don't. And I want to keep working with you. And I do think you're going to get a deal. I appreciate you being honest with me and everything, and keep me posted on that deal.
Cool.
I hope it does work. But even if it doesn't, I think you're going to succeed. So I just got off the call with Brent. I'll tell you my thoughts. Oh, that was a lot. I felt like I was hard on him, but I think he needs it, so I don't know if I got through to him or not. Honestly, I don't know what he's going to go think about. To me, there's really not much to think about. You do it or you don't do it. And sometimes you just have to trust the people who have gone through it, whatever Brent's going to tell himself, in my opinion, is more uninformed than what me and Greg will be telling him, right? Listen to the people who are where you were trying to get to, so I don't know. I hope I got through to him. I don't know what he has to think about, but he's obviously going through some shit. Probably nothing that I know about, childhood trauma or something. I don't know. But, yeah, it's tough, man. I feel for him for sure. And I appreciate his honesty, but, man, I just want him to succeed. I want him to succeed, and I want all of you to succeed too. If you're going through the same ish, learn from this video. Learn from Brent's story. This is what it takes. You have to go through it. And the point of which you're done and you're I'm done. I quit. And that's good. Keep going. Then now you keep going. You know what I mean? Okay, you quit. Great. Well, keep going. Your mind is not on your side. It's just not. Don't trust yourself so much. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but if you already knew what to do to succeed and make money, you wouldn't be in this position in the first place. So stop trusting yourself and start letting people help you and trusting the people to guide you in the right way. And that requires honesty. It requires Brent to be honest with us about what he's going through so that we can face it head on and we can tackle it. So I think he was honest with me. I hope he was. I appreciate what he did share, but it doesn't quite feel like it's everything. And I don't know if he's going to continue. I think there's a very good chance that he still quits. So, which would be a huge bummer. I don't know. I'm friends with him either way. I'm rooting for him no matter what he does. But, yeah. It's just hard, man. Shit is hard, but it's worth it. It's fucking worth it. So, yeah. That's the end of Brent's story for now. I really was hoping for a different ending. I know if Brent kept going, eventually he would get a deal. But maybe it's not his destiny and wholesaling's not in his future. And I do think he's still better off than when he started, because he was in an indecisive place. He had no clarity on what he wanted, and I think going through this experience helped him understand himself a little bit better and also helped him realize that wholesaling isn't what he wants. So at the very least, he can put that behind him and move on to the next thing. And, I debated about not even making this video. It would have been nice to have him close a deal at the end of the day and it'd be a big, happy story. But look, the reason why I created this channel is to show you the reality. And the reality is that it just wasn't for him. When people join coaching programs, the best coaching programs only have a 10% success rate. And I think this is a lot of the reason why people realize that wholesaling isn't for them. What they saw online wasn't reality. It wasn't as easy as I thought. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not a quitter. I want to show those who are serious that you can be successful in this business. So even though it didn't work with Brent, I do want to prove it. I think this video gives a really good essence of what the struggles are going to be and what are the barriers to becoming successful, what type of mental roadblocks you may deal with. So if you're somebody who is willing to deal with the suck, who's willing to deal with the hard shit, who's willing to face their own emotions and push through them, who's willing to own their own shit, and who's willing to be uncomfortable, then I have an offer for you. I'm here to take somebody who's never done a deal before and help them close a deal. Not the gurus who have 1,000 students and take one after the fact and just play the law of large numbers game. No, we're not doing that. We're taking somebody from scratch and we're helping them close a deal. And we're documenting the whole thing. So I'm not a quitter. I'm doubling down on this. If you want to work with me, I will work with you for free. But you have to do this for me. Post a video on YouTube titled Wholesaling with Tim Upheld. Make it public and explain to me why I should pick you. And I'm going to choose not one, but 3 people to work with. You're going to do exactly the same things I did with Brent. You're going to hop on a call with me and maybe some of my other successful buddies, and we're going to walk through step by step how to get you a deal based on your specific situation in your market. I need to make sure that, one, you need to be okay with me publishing it and documenting everything. You need to be honest with me, and you need to be willing to take videos on your own. So post a video on YouTube, make it public, and title it Wholesaling with Tim Appelt, and explain to me why you want to do wholesaling and why I should pick you. I'll find your video and let's make this shit happen.